The first retreat that I went on, which was the first one, up until that point, I had got laid off about a year before, and I was working, I had taken a new job, which was making a lot less money than I was at an oil company. And so I was working all this overtime. Now, working like 1,000 hours of overtime a year, just lots of overtime. And I ended up, well, that took a cost. It was starting to cost me. I was grumping at my family, almost lost my family, almost lost my marriage. I was having all kinds of problems. I was kind of descending into this, an attitude of despair and discouragement. Well, but I wanted to work the weekends. So when I worked the weekend, I got time and a half. When I worked Sunday, I got double time. Well, along came this a fellow down the street named Bert Christensen, and he was the first lay director of the Watch Retreat. So he called me up and said, "Hey, you want to go on this Watch Retreat?" And I said, "No, I don't have time for that." And I'm thinking in my mind, who in the right mind would waste a whole weekend at church? I was thinking, just who in the right mind would do that when they can work and make money? But the job I was supposed to go on was canceled, and so I called them up on Friday. Tomorrow is on Saturday they were starting a Watch Retreat. So I said, "Hey, Bert, is there any room left on that Watch Retreat?" "Oh yeah, sure, come on down." So I came down, and I started listening to talks, and God started working on me, and kindling a little fire, a little voice, and started getting stronger and stronger. And at the end of the retreat, we have like an open mic session. And in that open mic session, it was, what did you get out of the retreat, and what are you going to do with it? And so I said, well, I got a lot out of the retreat. And I decided during the retreat that I'm going to try doing it God's way instead of my way, at least some of the time. At least some of the time. I didn't commit fully, but I'll commit a little bit. I'll try to do it some of the time. Well, the next day, I go into the job where I was working, and they said, "You've been working all this overtime. So what we're going to do is we're going to put you in a client's office, but you can only work 40 hours a week. But in order to compensate, we're going to give you a big raise." So, that's the God's honest truth. The very next day, I went into this, and I thought they were going to, because I was working so many hours, I was in trouble. But no, they said, "You go work at this company, but you can only work 40 hours a week." And so they gave me a big bump in pay. And it was like that was the confirmation that if you take one step for God, one step to God, He'll take 1,000 steps to you, just to trust in Him. And that was a journey that started, and so ever since then, I've never missed a Watch Retreat. I've been on all the Watch Retreats. I go on them, and I'm on the team now, and I've been on the team. The second Watch Retreat I was on the team. I've never been not on the team all the way to now. I'm on the team this year as well. It is a powerful spiritual experience designed, in this case, for men. And it helps men talk to men about their faith. And it helps, you hear about real men. They won't be just talking about like classroom instruction and principles of theology. They're going to be talking about how a real God works in your life, helps you with the struggles that men face in all different phases of your life. Be it a young man, a man with starting out with his family, a man facing middle age, the middle age crisis, and a man that's coming into retirement years and the end of life. All that stuff is discussed. And how is God helping you through all those things? How is God leading you through all those things? And that's the power of that. Builds a stronger faith. And that's the whole thing. Build a stronger faith in a man. Build a stronger service in a man. And so he truly lives the faith, truly lives the gospel. And that's what the Watch Retreat does. That's what the Watch program does. And Watch stands for We Are the Church. WATCH. And it's a program that, to give you some ideas of what are the fruits of this thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 deacons. 6 deacons have come out of the Watch Retreat, where they were back actively involved in retreat, and a lot of them are still actively involved in the Watch Retreat. 6 deacons came out of the program. 1 priest came out of the program. So the Watch Retreat is calling men. Now you go to some churches that are wealthy churches, so it's not an economic thing. You go to those churches and they don't have a retreat program, they have no deacons. You go to other places where they have retreat programs, they do have deacons. So I'm convinced that once somebody is on the team and they start talking about their faith, they get enthused about their faith, they say, "Hey, I could do this. I could do that. I could give a homily. I can do that. And what it does, God's calling them to, well, I was called to be a deacon. And I was ordained a deacon in 2007. So I'm coming up on 20 years next year. I'll be 20 years a deacon.
So what's the cost of going? What's the time frame? How much does it cost financially? What does it take?
That is a great question. The reason Watch even exists is now the mother church or the mothership of all these lay-driven retreats, be it Acts, be it Watch, be it Walk to Emmaus, even a lot of the Kairos, all the Protestant ones, all of them have their basis in the Cursillo movement, which was started in Spain, and it basically united a country that had been divided by a generation of civil war. So in Spain, they took people from both sides of the Civil War, and the Catholic Church took them and put them on an island, and they did these retreats. They call it Cursillo, means like short course in Spanish. So they put them on, and through that they healed the country of Spain, and it was a miraculous thing. That eventually made it over here, and at first it came into the prisons, the Cursillo. But then what happened is it started spreading out. It made it to Houston, I think, in the 60s. It was done. It was mostly Spanish, Hispanic people taking it, but it also was made, there was an English version of it. But the problem that it had, in 1989, I went on a Cursillo. But Father asked, well, we have a parish of 2,000 families. How many people have been on a Cursillo here? And I said, asked around. I found about 4 people out of a church of 2,000 people, or 2,000 families. That means there's probably 4,000 people, possible adults. Only 4 have gone. 4 have gone on retreat, Cursillo. So then the question was asked, why? Well, and it was cost too much. Cost like $200. Even back then it was $200. You have to drive all the way to south side town, so you'd have to drive too far. You had to take off Thursday afternoon, all day Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it was a long retreat. You had to take time off from work. Okay, and so all those things contributed to the fact that not many people wanted to go. Because let's say I've got 4 kids at home and I work, say, at Ace Hardware or Kohl's or Walmart or something. I don't have the money and I don't have the time, literally have the time, the vacation time, to take off away from my family to go on these retreats. So someone sat down, I think it was Tom Comstock and Karen Comstock. They went over to Elizabeth Seton and they were experimenting with this idea called Watch. And what it is, it looked at all the excuses of why not to go on Watch, or why not to go on Cursillo. And they basically generated a program that would provide answers to all those. So, first one, cost too much? Well, if you do it on the property, on campus, at the church, at that time, the first one cost $15. And that $15 covered a t-shirt and it covered a Bible. So basically, and all the meals were free. Everything was free. And it was $15. That was for, you got a t-shirt, you got a rosary, you got a Bible, all those spiritual tools that you need. You got a bunch of other things that you could use as a Catholic man to further your faith. So it was very affordable. Number 2, it started on Saturday, ended Sunday afternoon, about 4 o'clock. I don't have to take time off from a 9 to 5, a Monday through Friday job. I'm doing it on the weekend. And then you take a 4-day, and on top of that, you took a 4-day retreat, compressed it into 2 days. So it was a nice, compact little package of retreat, intense experience. So you did that. So you weren't away from your family and away from your work. So all those things came together in Watch. And as a result of that, a lot of people found that attractive. Now you did it on campus, and that's kept the cost down. But also one other thing, that retreats, oftentimes retreat, and you're going to go some distant place, and then you're going to come back. But this thing did kind of turned it on its head, in that you do it on the property. Now you're supposed to be, you're excluded from, you're isolated from the general population. But the general population sees you going to church as a group of men. They see you eating as a group of men, on the campus. They see all those things, and then they bring things to you. They bring letters of support, palanca, it's called. They might donate a dessert for you. All these types of things were happening, and it made a really strong community building effort. A really strong community building. As a result, it's lasted for over 30 years. Over 30 years, and it's as strong as ever. We're trying to figure out how every group of men, every demographic, how can we reach them? And we came up with ways to reach young and reach with family, but like people that had special needs, and those special needs might be they wear CPAPs, they need to take meds at night, they need to sleep in a special bed, they need to go home. And so they said, well, I don't want to sleep at church, I'll just not come. So what we did is we flipped the table on that. And what we did is we said, everybody goes home. And at first we tried it, we think, well, half of them won't come back. All of them came back. Everyone came back. And that also put a lot of emphasis on, we better knock it out of the park the first day. We better knock it out of the park the first day, and we do. And that's that idea the first day. People want to come back. They want to see what's the second act? What's the second day going to be like? So people go home, they can have their CPAPs, they can take their meds, they can do what they want, they can put the dog out, whatever they want to do. And they can always come back. They sleep in a comfortable bed and they come back. And they can be back at 7 o'clock and away we go.
What's the current charge?
The charge right now is a whopping $40. It's $40. And that includes breakfast, lunch, and supper, and breakfast and lunch.
And there's even scholarships or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and don't let money stand in the way. If you're on fixed income or if you can't afford it, you come for free. You come for free, and it's not a big deal. You come for free, and you get a Bible out of that, you get a rosary out of that, and you now get a polo shirt out of that as well. So it all those things work together. All those things work together for what a better deal. Not only you get all these spiritual tools that you can use after the retreat, but you get, there's prayer packets that have, the Catholic prayers. And then you got all these letters you get letters that come in there. They can be sources of encouragement, all kinds of things. And the idea is you also get to know the men at the parish. One of the biggest things about the Catholic Church that I've always found weird is I can sit next to a guy, or I can sit one aisle in front, one pew in front of him for 20 years. I'll never know his name. I never know his name. I'll shake his hand. Oh, peace be with you. I don't know your name, brother, but hey, how you doing? This way, everyone wears a name tag, everyone gets to know their first name. And it's, I think if nothing else, that building of community is so important. So important. The way you're going to build a strong church is with strong community. People connected. People knowing that you've got, you got a kid like a kid in the hospital, or you've got a sick wife, or you've got, where your grandkids live in Belgium, or they're going to know something about you as well as know something about your family. And that, I think, is that's how you build community. That's the church that Jesus wants us to build, and that's why we're called. We are the church.